Hello everybody, my name is Christian Swenson. I do videos here on YouTube about autism, autistic consciousness, and life on the autism spectrum. Lately I've been giving you tips in videos. Tips on how to live a better life on the spectrum as an autistic person. Tips to help you feel more like yourself. Tips to help you feel more like yourself in connection with other people. More like a part of the world and not just apart from the world. You know, you can either be a part of the world or a part from the world. And today I wanted to give you a really practical tip to help you learn social skills. And it's this. Watch YouTube. You're already doing it. You're watching me on YouTube. But I wanted to give you a specific way or specific ways to watch YouTube that can actually be really helpful. The first is this. Just turn off the sound. Watch a YouTuber. It has to be a person who's there and is using their voice and is using their hands. But turn off the voice. Just don't turn off the hands. When you're watching people, and when you watch people with the sound turned off, you can't not pay attention to their body language. You can't not pay attention, not just to what they're saying, but to how they're saying it. You're forced into the how. You're forced into the mode of their being. You're forced into the paying attention to their body, to the feelings in their body that they're expressing through their hand gestures and their body language and their facial expressions, all of those things. And when you turn the sound off, you can maybe make it a game with yourself to see, can I guess what they're saying if I don't know what they're saying? Can I guess what they're saying based on how they're saying it? The gestures they use. Maybe they make this kind of a gesture, and you can kind of intuit based on the gesture that they're talking about the parts of something. They're talking about dividing something, whether it's literal or something intellectual. Like, I had to do this very rigidly, someone would say something like that. Or maybe they could talk about how that person made me feel very warm inside, and this is the feeling of being warm inside. Or maybe you could talk about how, or you could look at how someone would maybe look up. When they look up, and this is something people do, it means they're thinking. Means they aren't looking at anything in particular, they're thinking about something. And so if somebody does this, you could maybe intuit that they were talking about dividing something, but then they wondered if that was actually true, and then maybe it's not true. And you can do that thing, right? And maybe you get it wrong, but that's okay. First of all, you probably aren't going to be as wrong as you think you are, because there's a lot of subtext that we might not notice. And maybe by watching the body language, you picked up on the subtext that you couldn't pick up with your voice, with paying attention to the words. And so by listening to body language, because that's what you're doing, you're listening to body language with your body, with the feelings in your body, you learn to pay attention to another track of language. As autistic people, we tend to only watch or listen to one track at a time. I listen to the what of your words and not the how of your words. But if we turn off the what, we can watch the how, and then we can maybe eventually learn to bring the two together. See what I just did? Learn to bring the two together. These are the two, and they're coming together. See what I just did? And you can, if I did this, that would be, you could guess that I'm talking about two things coming together, and you'd be right. The other thing you can do, kind of along the same lines, is to watch foreign YouTubers in another language. They'll have the tone of voice, they'll have the body language, and you can listen to the tone of voice like you can't if you turn off the sound, but you can't tell what they're saying. And that's really important because you can learn to pay attention to the emotions in somebody and not just the thoughts. You can learn to pay attention to the feelings in them, to their how, and not just their what. What else can you do? This is a really fun one. Watch a YouTuber, pause it after a few seconds, and see if you can mimic what they said in the way that they said it, with first the words that they're saying, secondly the tone of their voice, and their cadence of their voice, and thirdly their body language. So if you were to say something like I just said, you would say something like I just said, or whatever. Or maybe I'm not so good at this, or maybe I'm not so good at this. See, I just did it there. But I'm just mimicking myself, which is probably a not good thing to do. But find a YouTuber and see if you can mimic their mode of being. See if you can imitate them. See, when neurotypicals are in conversation, there's a lot of imitation and mimicking happening all the time. It's a skill of the body. It's a skill of the heart. It's a skill of the arms and the legs. It's a skill of the face. And the more you learn to do that, the more you'll learn to integrate yourself into the greater whole that we can sometimes feel like we're not a part of. And see what I just did there, speaking of body language? The greater whole. It's like clockwise and counterclockwise. It's like we're going counterclockwise when people are going clockwise. That's the kind of metaphor I was embodying in my head. We're going against the current of the world, and we're learning to go with the world by doing these exercises. What else can I recommend? Just pay attention to YouTube, not just based on what they're saying, but listen to it with your body. Notice how the YouTube video makes you feel in your heart, in your gut, in all parts of your body, and see if you can notice the way your feelings change as the video changes or as you change the video. Notice the resonance and the response from your embodied experience. Notice the way that you are suddenly feeling anxious or feeling like a heartbeat increase or feeling tense. Maybe it's connected with the video. A lot of autistic people feel their feelings. They just don't feel it with the same part of them that thinks. An example is, an autistic boy has anxiety described to him, and he's like, oh, that's the feeling that goes away when I play video games. He didn't know what anxiety was. He just thought it was some kind of stomach ache or whatever. And that's a really cool thing we can do, because by doing these exercises, we learn to belong to ourselves with all the parts of ourselves. We learn to integrate not just our feelings and our thoughts, but both of them together. So I'm Christian Swenson. I'm going to try to do videos here on YouTube, probably not just every Saturday, but also on Tuesdays. I'm going to try to do twice a week. I just hit 200 subscribers, and I'm really grateful for those of you who really appreciate my stuff. I know you're out there. So I will see you on Saturday. Take care.